Guys want to start okay.
Hello, everybody. We're going to get started. John Thomas. John Thomas. We're getting ready to start. So we'll start with the slide presentation, I guess, first. Is that right, John? Where is John? Oh, there he is.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You want to jump in? Give it an intro?
I think we're going to do, John and I are going to tag team.
Okay.
So, thank you, Mr. Orgill and Sue Kemp, and thanks for being here. My name is Dave Kiff. I'm the city manager. I'm joined by Kai Bond, the Marine Safety Chief, John Zigowitz with Visit Laguna Beach, Chief Jeff Calvert, and council members Kempf and Mayor Pro Tem Orgill. And we're going to go through probably a 20-ish minute presentation, and then we're going to just go to question and answers and hearing from you. So I'm going to start. If my clicker is working, there you go. So here's what we're going to cover. I said some of that. I'm going to start with the city side, what we'll be doing. Kind of, we're calling it a surge for 2025, and along with lessons learned from last year. And then I'm going to hand it over to John to talk about changing messaging for Visit Laguna Beach. And then we want to hear from you. We'll also do a QR code. If you haven't taken the stewardship survey, please do that. And you can put your phone to the QR code and take it today. So why we're here: to be prepared for the impacts of summer 2025 and to chart a different path for how visitors, especially our day visitors, interact with and treat Laguna Beach. And that different path is, as John will talk about, Visit Laguna Beach, we'll talk about stewardship and emphasize that, the careful enjoyment of the things that are important to us. And then the city will be a partner in that too, but our messaging will be a little bit different. It'll be a little bit more enforcement oriented. So here's what I think we learned. Here's what I think I learned. I think we started our messaging last year a little too late. We did do some messaging, which I'll show you what that was. As a result, we were probably not as prepared as we would have liked to have been for the visitors last year. I think it's fair to say the messaging from Visit Laguna Beach took the wrong approach. Parking enforcement, trash, nuisance violations were all areas that need improvement, but I think more was done than folks think, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. We think it could be even more impactful in 2025 if we don't prepare, and that's what we've been doing. And just to remind everybody that we have constraints. We can't change parking rates. They're set by ordinance and the Coastal Commission. They step up every year, but we can't just charge what the market will bear. Parking enforcement is challenging in Laguna Beach. We've trying to look at different models of doing that, but it ends up being, as the chief will talk about, our officers in concert with other duties. And then remember, the Coastal Act protects people's access to the beach, and so does our local coastal program, or LCP. Those are in our documents and in the Coastal Act's documents that people have from all across California, all across the United States, have a right to access Laguna Beach. And that we rely on visitors, hotel bed tax, parking revenue, sales taxes to serve the residents. And I wish that were different, but it is a big chunk of our money. It's not a majority, but it's a significant chunk of our revenues that we use to operate the city. So here's some data from last year. I'm going to ask the chief to talk a little bit about the police activity, and then I'll talk about the messaging.
Thanks, Dave. So the police department's primary mission is to protect life and property, and we're committed to being the safest coastal community in Orange County through exceptional policing and community engagement. And I just want to provide some high-level numbers that the community should be aware of. So we handled over 51,000 calls for service last year. It was a 13% increase from 2023. But despite the higher demand, our priority one calls, officers, or when somebody calls 911, our officers were there in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. That's phenomenal compared to the national average which is 5 minutes. And that was a 12% decrease compared to 2023. Our response times for priority 2 calls, just a general call for service, you're getting an officer at your door on average in 6 minutes and 30 seconds, which is fantastic. The national average is 20 minutes. The officers made over 1,000 felony misdemeanor arrests last year. 284 of those were DUI arrests. Something new that we started in January is that we're now sending DUI notification letters to all the establishments. In part of the DUI arrest, the officers ask, "Where did you last drink?" So we have taken that information and we're actually sending a notification letter to the business. The owners don't know what they don't know. Well, now they know. So we're telling them the date and time of arrest and also the blood alcohol level of the person that was arrested. So out of the 284 arrests that we made, which was a 21% increase from 2023, 46 were residents and 238 were visitors. We sent out 83 letters. 61 of the letters were to local businesses here, and then 22 were outside the city. Most importantly, we had a 23% decrease in violent and property crime in Laguna Beach. We live in a very, very safe community, and that's a 30% reduction compared to 2021. But I tell my officers, that's all the good work that they do behind the scenes that you don't see. Our community benchmarks our success on how well we manage our quality of life issues. Those things that you see and feel day in and day out, and we know that. And meetings like this help us, educate us to what's important to you. So last year, one of our chief complaints is speeding and loud exhaust. The officers wrote close to 1,700 speeding citations last year, 340 loud exhaust citations. And we plan on, like last year, doing joint task force operations for loud exhaust. We'll be doing 3 operations over the course of the summer, like we did this year or last year, just to send a message that it's just not tolerated here. We wrote 200 smoking in public sites, 649 drinking in public sites, 236 dogs off leash, and over 22,000 parking sites. Now, the 22,000 parking sites, we can do better, meaning that we're going to start using technology in a better way to identify vehicles that are illegally parked or through expired meters. Right now, the parking services offices are out there and basically they're fishing. They don't know where there's an expired meter, and we're going to start using technology to point our people in the right direction when a meter actually expires.
Thanks, Chief. On the messaging side of this, I talked about, we probably started a little too late last year. I do want to tell you what we did do. By the end of July through the end of September, we did an ad campaign through Google and Meta, so the platforms of Facebook and Instagram. And you should get an example too of what we were pushing. These are kind of the don't do things. And it did reach had 2.8 million impressions, but more to go there. I'm going to punt it back to Jeff, to Chief Calvert, to talk about. Now we're going to talk about what we're doing differently in 2025. And you already mentioned some of it, but starting with the Park Ranger program.
So the Park Rangers, we started the program in 2022. They've quickly become a hot commodity in the community. The community absolutely loves them. We're budgeted for 8. We worked with 7 last year. The city manager gave me authorization to overhire. So this summer we'll have 9 Park Rangers out in the field dealing with crime and quality of life issues. And if you don't know, the Park Rangers wear all the same equipment as a police officer, minus a handgun. And we vary their schedules, so people don't know when they're coming and going. But their job is to be out there dealing with anti-camping laws, leash laws, morning curfew, drinking, We have one ranger who will be assigned to Main Beach, downtown, and the ASL area for at least 80% of their shift. One of the things that you rarely see in this community is graffiti. We have one ranger that he loves finding graffiti, and he works with Public Works and our private security company. And when they find graffiti, the request gets sent to Public Works to immediately clean it up. But we can't be everywhere at once. So if you see graffiti, go to the city website and put that information in the Comcate, and we'll get it cleaned up as soon as possible. The Rangers have been to UTV and ATV training, so you may see them out on the beaches. And they're also trained to use the drones, a few of them, so they can look for encampments and also more efficiently scan the beaches for crime and quality of life issues. So in addition to our full-time and part-time parking enforcement officers, what we did differently this year is we worked with Human Resources to change the job description for our seasonal traffic aides. The seasonal traffic aides, you'll see them out in the intersection here in the downtown area. We have 10 to 12 of them. And through the job description, we're going to have 5 of them that can now write parking citations. So we'll be able to deploy them in areas of concern and saturate the area so they can write multiple parking citations. In addition to that, if you know Marlene Mackler, she recently retired, and she has graciously agreed to come back on a temporary basis to help us out over the summer. And she is a ticket writing machine, and so she'll be out there writing parking citations as well. The traffic aides, they'll be out there Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 7, and holidays and special events. And if we have, suddenly have an uptick during the week, a hot summer day, we can pull them in to direct traffic in the downtown area. Traffic enforcement, another quality of life issue, safety issue for our community. We have now moved from 2 motor officers to 4 motor officers. I'm going to bring on another motor officer here probably in the next 4 to 6 months. So we'll have a total of 4 motors, and then I'll have a dedicated traffic sergeant who's also a motor, so a total of 5 out there in the field writing speeding citations. And really, we're working on directing them through data where traffic accidents are occurring, and then working with the community where they see speed and loud exhaust issues. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to talk next about the transit program. There's a little bit of difference between what we're doing this year and last year. We have the typical coastal route and the canyon route. The service for the Summer Breeze, though, is going to start earlier. Remember, this is the one that hopefully keeps folks from inland area, especially the Irvine area. So we're starting a month earlier. So May 23rd, you'll start to see the Summer Breeze program begin. And again, that takes people from about where the 405 is down to Laguna Beach so they can leave their cars at home or cars in the lot there. Secondly, the Laguna Local Microtransit Program, hopefully you've all used that. Hopefully you continue to use that. That's expanding this summer. There's expanded hours that begin, so it goes later into the evening on June 27th. And then in late May, there's a whole new program with Laguna Local that if you live in the canyon or at El Toro Road or past the 73, you can use the microtransit to get into town. So small expansions there, but I think important ones. I had to jump to next to what Public Works is doing differently. We, in the middle of last summer, upped and adjusted our trash collection cycles. So we adjusted the pickup times to better align with what we thought were the observed conditions. I think we had some success there. Again, it happened a little bit later, but by the time we got it going, it was working well. We increased our litter picker crews, so we'll have the same amount as our increase. And we're trying to budget to stay nimble and make additional adjustments when we observe the need. We also have a day porter service. Remember, these are the folks that will go around and both pick up trash and clean the restrooms. There's a total of 16 hours work per day during the summer, and we'll have some funds on reserve for an additional third individual if we need to. And we'll also be working through some of our funding that comes through for waste management that will target our messaging on trash reduction and recycling for visitors. So that'll supplement the other messaging that we're doing. The city messaging, and then I'm going to kick it over to John. So again, this is going to be more enforcement oriented than Visit Laguna Beaches. Heavier on the don't and the no's. There'll still be some stewardship messaging, but we'll continue to start publicizing numbers of folks who get ticketed. As the chief mentioned, it does happen. I think people need to know it's happening, but you'll see this especially in social media. With that, I'm going to hand it over to John.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Kiff. I do want to start by introducing myself. Thank you. I'm John Zegowitz. I don't know probably 95% of you, but I'm a longtime resident here, 25 years. And in that time, I've seen the effects of the impact of visitors and tourism really kind of take off. You know, when I first moved here, you know, I thought traffic and parking was bad back then, and you know, I didn't realize it could get worse. And so here we are now. But on top of that, you know, I've had a lot of challenges with my kids at the beach sometimes, and I even had somebody run into my car and total it on in the middle of the night once. A drunk tourist came through, and so I've had, you know, a bit of a personal relationship with this problem. Not to say I'm going to turn that into a personal campaign. So pulled back. I can put that aside, I promise. The stewardship program that we're working on, and this has been in development, just so you guys know, this has been in development for a real long time, and it's just been exploring different avenues of how to do it, because it is going to be doing it different for Laguna Beach. Stewardship in communities is not anything new. We're seeing it all over the world. But we do have to do it differently here. It's going to be something that really we have to apply to our own culture and sensibilities. So the program here is created to help preserve what makes us truly special, right? So that means we're going to refocus the message and the visitor experience to reflect our authentic culture and heritage and values. Our key mission, and when we're getting started, is, and this is kind of a new thought, you know, we thought we were going to kind of just really reinforce who we are, but now we're kind of thinking, no, we need to lead guests to engage with Laguna Beach in ways that are more respectful and aligned to our way of life. It's that leading guests that I think is what we're really, really starting to refocus on. How do we create a new relationship with our guests? So let's, oh, I can do that. So in doing that,
Counterintuitive.
okay, good. There we go. So in doing that, we know we don't need to encourage more day visitors, right? We do need to change that mindset of those who are coming, though. We need to, that's what I mean by leading the visitors. We need to kind of help shift their mindset. And the only way we're going to be able to do that is by communicating with them. So, you know, when we talk about shutting off any type of marketing, that becomes a little bit of an issue because they'll carry through with the same type of mindset that they already have. So I understand that thinking and to jump there, but that is sort of a double-edged sword. So our larger shift in messaging will go a long way towards that. So when we're thinking about our pillar messaging, we're approaching this messaging with 3 core pillars. And those core pillars are all going to be designed to encourage visitors to connect in more meaningful and relevant ways. We're focusing on the environment, we're focusing on culture and heritage. And what's kind of interesting is when you think about it, it all ladders up to the environment. Without the environment here, we wouldn't have the culture, right? We wouldn't have the artists. We wouldn't have a lot of, you know, the things that we love, you know, the water sports and the outdoor activities and the beach. It's all around the environment, the hiking, the mountain biking. So that leads up to kind of help define what our culture is. And that's also where we find our heritage. So it's all really tied to that environment aspect. You can kind of think of it as a pyramid all built on that environmental aspect. So we're going to focus on those three aspects, those three pillars. And we're going to be doing that to inspire deeper engagement and exploration with our art and our creative culture, to promote respect and protection for our natural resources and help connect to the unique history that defines us. Down. There we go. All right. And we're approaching this with what we call a 4-point strategy approach. Okay. And I'm not going to go too deep into it. It's going to sound like gobbledygook, and you don't want me up here doing that. But a 4-point insight strategy approach means we're going to take a look at what's happening. We're going to dive in deep to understand what that is. Then we're going to understand why it's happening. Then what does this mean to us? And then we're going to activate what we do now. So what we're looking at right now, I'm not trying to give you what the pitch is on the new strategy. I'm trying to show you what we've kind of learned now. The rest of this is going to be developed with you guys. You guys probably saw hopefully you all took the survey. That's why we're doing town meetings like this, town hall meetings, and that's why we're doing one-on-ones and a lot of different ways of gathering information. But right now, the following notes that you'll see are all informed by community feedback that we've seen, city and council public comments, desktop research, editorial, anecdotal data, Visit California data and research that just some of it is really fresh. We just saw it. Emma was sharing a bunch of it with us over the last week and a half. And it's really fascinating stuff. So what I'm about to show you now is sharing to show you where we're kind of at now. And then after that, we're going to get the residents and the community to help us reshape and continue to shape this forward. So when we're thinking about that point one, what is happening? Real quick, what we're seeing, obviously residents are feeling that their world and quality of life is compromised, right? Overrun by those who just don't care. Visitors tend to lack this understanding or respect for the community's values, leading to trash, traffic, noise, tensions, and damage to already challenged environmental resources. And, that's loud and clear. We're hearing that and seeing that, in just about every form of communication. Current visible messaging leans more to a promotional and idyllic beach lifestyle. And the reason why I want to hit on visible is that's what, most of this community sees is just the visible stuff. Probably mostly of it is the native social media. But I want you to know that a lot of hard work is also sent out and done with the international and national community. And that's probably about, I'm going to say, more than 90% of where the effort goes into. So just know that it's not all about the stuff that you guys are seeing. There's a lot of hard and very successful work going on beyond that as well. Where am I? Okay. Meanwhile, what's interesting is what we're seeing out there is a rise in interest in sustainable travel and curated travel and purpose-driven tourism to be leveraged. So that really provides an opportunity for us. Okay. When we move to point two, why it's happening, there's a perception gap, and that's the opportunity for us. That perception gap, if we can close that, that's what we need to really focus on. Many visitors see Laguna as a postcard, an Instagram or TikTok destination, something for their background. So they don't see us as a living community with a sensitive environment, with its own unique culture. Driving visitation alone isn't working for us yet, right? Day trippers treat tourism as a one-way transaction. Come and consume rather than come and respect and connect. We're not connecting with that modern mindful traveler that we talked about in the prior page, that one that really wants to have a unique experience, right? So those who aren't just looking for where to go, but also how to live within that culture. Again, this isn't unique. This is a really growing opportunity for us. So point three, what it means to us. What does that mean? It means, well, for Visit Laguna, the city, our environment, and our culture are the hotel's greatest amenity. And they know that, and they want to be part of protecting it. And they want to make sure that it remains that beautiful amenity of theirs. Curating and educating the right kind of visitor to raise the quality and experience for guests and the community alike by inspiring protection of what makes Laguna unique. That is something that we're really going to focus on as well. The opportunity is to connect with a different mindset by better representing Laguna as an environmentally and creatively driven place. If we can keep pulling that forward, if we can keep pulling those things forward, we're pulling our culture forward. So with our goal, we're going to build more relevant connections with more valuable and responsible visitors. So that's point 3. So that leads now to, okay, so what does that mean? What do we do now? Well, we're doing it right now. We're reframing the purpose. Our sample mission right now is that we exist to protect and celebrate the true ethos of Laguna Beach by inspiring visitors to connect authentically and respectfully with our local culture and by helping preserve our environment and our creative heritage. Every time we move out with something like this, you know, we're creating a new positioning. We want to have that mission. This right now kind of feels like a good mission. Obviously, we don't have your guys' feedback yet. Looking forward to that. Please, please, please. We're building a stewardship platform. We're going to go beyond marketing, though, and the tactic, and we're going to integrate with the city and local organizations to foster a responsible and respectful experience informed by those key pillars. We're going to focus with shared passions. We're going to segment overnight guests into relevant audiences. Those relevant audiences are probably going to, you know, be aligned to maybe 3 different types of audiences for the hotels, but they're also going to align to the type of personality and the type of culture we are here. You know, we're not all the same people, but we kind of see 3 unique cultures here, and you can kind of align those with the hotels as well. We're going to invite overnight guests into deeper values-aligned experiences, and those are kind of interesting. We're seeing a little of those taking shape right now. Community engaged and pillar-informed messages, and further support invest in the pillar-based programs with the TMD allocations. And you're seeing things like that coming forward with, I believe, more docents. I think some of that allocation is going towards, and also looking at artist housing. So you see some of that investment and focus coming back into the community. And finally, by listening to you, okay? And that's where, when we're listening to you, hang on, skipping a slide. So we're really building this whole positioning from the ground up, okay? And we're starting with, like I said, starting with the community surveys, these town hall meetings, having a lot of one-on-ones, a lot of meetings with people. And we really want to hear you guys, you know, we want to hear your thoughts on these pillars and on what the problems are and what the potential solutions are. That's going to lead up to what we're calling, you know, our pillar-led distillation. And that's where we're going to kind of find a little bit more of a smaller group and start identifying some key things that are standing out. That'll keep moving up to stakeholder panels. These are all residents, by the way, these people that are helping us move the ball forward. And they're going to refine these messages into something really clear that can be kind of salient messages that we can put out to when we are going out and marketing Laguna Beach. And that's going to move up again. It's going to be community-led, moving up to finalize the top-line positioning. So everything moving forward is going to be community-informed. So I really do encourage you guys to. I saw a lot of people have responded to the survey already, and a lot of people left emails too. So I look forward to talking to you.
So there's the survey slide if you want to take it. And now we want to hear from you. I think, I don't know if we have a time constraint. We blocked this off till 7 o'clock. So we're happy to hear your reaction to what we presented, as well as just your thoughts and concerns.
So Dave, if I understand this correctly, we're going to, if somebody wants to raise their hand, it's not going to be coming up to the podium. Is that correct?
Because we're trying to make this effectively recorded so people can watch it, we'd like people to come up to the podium.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
Okay. Who wants to come up first? Mary. Mary's coming up first.
Are we going to time it?
Well, we're going to try to time it to 3 minutes.
Can I ask questions or just make a statement?
I think you can do whatever you like. This is fairly informal. I don't know if we
Okay.
can answer them, but we'll try.
Okay, Jeff. Biggest problem I'm seeing right now, this is kind of off topic, is the California passing the law about corners and parking on corners. And I'm seeing we're going to lose a lot of spaces. What can we do about this?
I have to, our public works director is down there. I think we lost about 45 spaces. Yeah. So the only thing we can do is turn them into bike parking or scooter parking or exclude them entirely.
It's
So,
crazy. So what about
understood.
in residential?
It's wherever there is a sidewalk that either implies or has has a delineated crosswalk. So
Okay.
there are some, but it has to be a sidewalk on each side.
Because I can't believe we're just losing parking spaces. I've been
We
here
couldn't believe it either.
50 years and it's a negative trend on parking.
Understood.
The other question I had was, the local, can we go to the sawdust? It used to be we'd have to get dropped off here down.
I think there's a sawdust spot. Do you remember, Alexis? There is one. Yeah.
That's awesome
Please use it.
news. Okay, right back to the beach and living. Anything, because of the California Coastal Commission, anything that's free, people don't appreciate it. And that's what I see. People like, oh gosh, we can't afford to do anything. Let's go to the beach. And they come, they bring all their stuff and they trash it. This has been for the past 2 years. It's been kind of disappointing. What can we do about the people that are just coming for a day at the beach? That's my question.
Well, I think as John was saying, there'll be a messaging to those folks to try to get them to value Laguna like everyone here does. So and it won't happen overnight.
No.
And then there's the messaging that the city will do, as well as enforcement that Chief Calvert's park rangers will do to actually issue citations.
And the park rangers have been great.
Yeah.
I mean, when there's chaos at Woods Cove, you call them, they show up. And yeah, it lets the lifeguards actually do their job because they can't police everything. They're saving the fools out in the water. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Thanks for the feedback.
Hey, Mark Christie, lifetime resident and the managing partner of the ranch. Sustainable travel is huge. 30+% of the people that come and stay at the ranch say that sustainability was a key factor in their choice of coming both to Laguna and the ranch in particular. And they've been coming here, trashing the beaches my whole life. They're just going to come here. So all we can do is our best job of educating. And then if they don't heed the education, enforcement, that's on you, Jeff and Kai. But I think a great idea is a QR code. Talk about Blue Belt, talk about Green Belt, talk about Art Belt. You know, when you go to Yosemite, Sedona, beaches in Kauai, as you're walking down, they're referring to these things as sacred places. You know, and I would love to, like Sedona, make Laguna feel like a sacred place, because certainly we have taxed ourselves and voted with our wallets to do just that over the years. We need to share that commitment, that ethos, and not everyone's going to get it. You're going to have violators, but if you can just sort of capture the middle with something like a QR code, nobody goes to the beach without a phone anymore. And people, you know, they're active on their phones. If we had QR codes at every beachhead and just said, here's, you know, tell them about the Green Belt, tell them about the Blue Belt, tell them about, you know, what's happened since the Blue Belt, and ask them to, you know, leave the campsite cleaner than they found it. When they leave, pick up everything that they brought down and maybe one or two other items. You know, at the golf course, we would say, fix your divot plus one more, something like that. You're not going to get everybody. It can't be perfect, but we can do the best we can. And thank you.
Mark, I have a question. So at the ranch promotes itself, you know, very environmentally.
Right.
And I obviously pick it up when I see any information come across regarding the ranch. Can you tell me how much does that translate to the guest? Do you find it that you're resonating with the guest, and that those are the type of people that you're attracting to the property?
So I would guess that at least 10% are coming exclusively because of our commitment to sustainability. There's no plastic at the ranch. We recycle all the bottles. You know, it's all reclaimed water. We're saving 27 million gallons of water a year. You see it everywhere. We have an organic garden with the coolest organic gardeners in town. You know, it's everywhere you look. And you know, some things are less tangible, but you know, we don't have plastic bags for laundry, anything like that. So we try to touch every base we can, you know, and it takes a little bit of an effort, but it's worth it. You know, I mean, this town is what it is because of everybody in this room. And signage, education, enforcement, do the best we can, and it will evolve. People will come to respect this place as some of the beaches in Kauai, as Sedona, as Yosemite. Yosemite is a sacred place, and yet people dump stuff. It's just going to happen. We could just do the best we can do and just continue to educate.
Well said. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Joelle Padu, resident. I know all of you guys, but I still get nervous. So first I want to thank you all for everything you do. There has been a change and you can see it, but I'm really excited about the stewardship program and I'm very passionate about it. So anything that I can do as a resident and to help out, definitely I want to help out. A couple things. I like the idea of the pillars that John's talking about and bringing it back to our roots. And I really like the radical origins that had happened. And I feel like if we continue pushing that with Visit Laguna, I think that it really makes people think, like, see the importance of our culture and heritage. So I really appreciate that. And then lastly, I was just at the Best in the West, which is an awesome event here with the volleyball tournament. And I went to Main Beach on Sunday to take my son to Main Beach. And I just noticed that the trash was full and there's trash next to it. And my husband was like picking up the trash. And then we walked down towards the beach and we saw all the empty event boxes and they weren't distributed throughout. And I could go and do it, and I don't want to complain to the city because you guys get so many complaints anyways. So I try to help out as much as I can, but I just thought it would be cool if I could just text or do like a hotline and be like, hey, overflow or something at Main Beach after the volleyball. And then I went back on Monday to see if it was cleaned up. And again, the event boxes were empty. And I had ran into another resident and they were talking about something in Heisler, and I was just like, it would be so nice if we could text something. So I don't know, that's just an idea I thought I would put out, but yeah, thank you.
Thanks. So question, do we have, so we have Ask Laguna, right? We use Ask Laguna. I use it all the time.
Yeah, there's Mark, how quickly would those be responded to on the weekends? Okay. Per day. Okay, so coming up, please do either use your phone or when you're home, you can use it from your phone, access the website. It's called Ask Laguna, as Sue is talking about. And you can pick the category of concern and note that, and it goes right to the appropriate person to respond to. So it's not quite as easy as texting, but it's pretty close.
And then do we have QR codes on the trash cans? We could put QR codes on the trash cans if they're full. It'd be an easy, but I use that Ask Laguna app all the time. Like if a resident calls me and complains about something, rather than telling them to fill out the Ask Laguna, I just do it myself. But they get back to you, and if they don't get the problem fixed, they keep getting pinged. So it's pretty effective. So all you have to do is Google Ask Laguna. It comes right up super easy. You don't have to go to the city website or anything.
Hi, my name is Alex Anderson. I'm a longtime Laguna resident, and I'm just here to speak for, well, first of all, I want to say I'm really excited about this new stewardship angle that Visit Laguna is going to kind of go with now. I'm very passionate about that. And I went onto the Visit Laguna Beach website and downloaded the guide that the tourists can download to plan their trip. And there's a lot of inviting people to the tide pools, but I didn't see any messaging about marine protected areas. And I'm here to speak for the marine life in our marine protected areas, especially the tide pools and the intertidal zone. The 4 good tide pool rules are really important for our visitors to know if they're going to come and explore and enjoy our resources. And yeah, if there just could be more messaging about marine protected areas. Thank you.
May I? So thank you, and that is absolutely a priority of ours. But we have the luxury of having about 8,000 priorities, and firsts. But that's a great one. Thank you very much.
I second that. Hi, my name is Hanako. I'm a new resident in Laguna Beach. I'm not from here. You would hear it. But I'm very happy to be here. And thank you very much for doing all of what you're doing. I'm very, very passionate about the environment. That's the first reason why I moved here with my family. And when we go to the beach with my family, we always take a bag with us to like pick up some trash after us, and we pick many. And because I have 2 young kids, I just don't want to be the last generation to see those beautiful starfish on our tidal pools and to have like all of these animals like washing ashore. And everyone comes here because they admire our coast. They want to rest by the ocean. They want to admire it. So they should leave it pristine. And that's really my message. And we should give like more signage to people, maybe before they leave. Like, did you forget something? Or just, I think more signage. More signage will help, even to indicate them that we have more trash on the beach that are available. And if there's no trash, just take them with you. It's just, that's my like first advice. And then second thing I wanted to say is we have a Laguna Beach Cultural Arts Center. I was not aware it was existing, and they have a beautiful, amazing exhibition right now made in in collaboration with the Laguna Ocean Foundation and Tom Lemb, who contributed to the preservation of our land. And we're going to host on April 25th, Earth Night at this Cultural Arts Center. And if you want to join, we're going to talk about like the preservation of our lands, our coast, and our ocean. It's a very important subject. And if we are missing some spot this summer, I wanted to know, are we going to have more transportation to compensate for that, like local transportation?
You mean more trolleys?
Yes.
It's a pretty active schedule. Alexis, is there any changes that I didn't mention from last year? Month earlier for the breeze, but we're pretty busy in the summer trolley wise.
Yes.
Were
Yeah.
you here last summer?
Yes, I was here,
Okay.
and there was a lot.
There's a lot
but we still had to wait. Like after 7 or so, I think there were less. Maybe
Yeah.
as we go late, it decreased. And then my last question or statement is also like engaging people in not leaving trash is also not giving them options, and also maybe reducing plastic, because I know Laguna Beach is doing like a great work on being, I think, a no single-use city. But I still see plastic a lot. I still see like straws. I still see like plastic glasses. And I think if we like try to reduce it and get the business with us to like reduce the use of plastic, then we will find them less on our beaches.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks.
My name is Jean Platt, and I'm a resident of Laguna Beach. Lived here about 7 years now, I guess. Sure. Is this better? I can't hear myself. So I'm so impressed with what I heard tonight. I just had no idea any of this is going on. It's great. And I just have 2, maybe 3 really quick things. One is, if you want to do something about the loud traffic, you should just go over by, Pavilions in Boat Canyon. Because when I go to Pilates close to Pavilions, I just hear people start up from that intersection and they go, and you could get a lot of people there. So then I have a crazy idea, which is, when I came here, I realized you could take your dog to the beach, which is really unusual. But then I realized you can't take your dog to the beach in the summertime. So I was thinking, what if you couldn't take food to the beach in the summertime? And what that would do, it was not only cut down on the trash on the beach, but it would encourage people to go in and use our restaurants, which say they don't get any traffic from the beachgoers. Maybe if they knew they had to come eat here, they would. And I can't think of the other thing, so it must not have been very important. But I really am very impressed with what I heard. Thank you.
Hi, everybody can hear me. I'm Adrienne. I've been a resident here for about 6 years. My grandmother was an artist here growing up, and I spent a lot of time in town. Love this city. First, I just want to say how excited I am about the direction of the council. Mark and Sue, I think you've really championed the stewardship here in town, and it's really exciting to see the movement with it. And John, your passion behind this is just evident in everything you're doing. Loved the language that was even in the survey, just showing kind of the depth of thought behind it. I'm really passionate about the artists in town for obvious reasons. Something you touched on, John, was attracting the right kind of tourism as well. So not just educating the people that are naturally coming here for the beach, but also starting to inject these programs into town that attract the right kind of tourism to town. And I think there's so much opportunity, especially with the artists, to be painting the light boxes, doing more murals, starting to inject that art culture, which will twofold create more opportunities for the artists that are based here in town, and then also start to attract people that are really interested in the art and bring them more into the town away just from the beaches, which might be a great way to steward the environment, bring the right kind of tourism, and again, take some of us voting with our wallets. I loved the way somebody said that, and bring it back to the artists here in town, which is such a huge part of our culture. So just an idea. And then Joelle texted me this. I speak for Joelle. There is a beach cleanup this Saturday. Joelle and I've got to work with the chamber, which is amazing. The Laguna Ocean Foundation is starting to do some amazing events, and that is kicking off this Saturday. One second, she texted me all the details. It's a main beach cleanup in junction with the chamber. What time is it? At 2 o'clock. So Main Beach, 2 o'clock this Saturday, beach cleanup, Laguna Ocean Foundation, and the chamber. What? It's on Tuesday. It's not Saturday? It's on Earth Day. Yay, okay. Scratch everything I just said. 2 p.m. on Tuesday, beach cleanup, Laguna Ocean Foundation, and the chamber. Thank you guys so much for your passion behind this. I am so excited to see the direction it takes.
Hi, my name is Cindy. I'm a 25-year resident and compulsive trash picker-upper. And one quick question before my statement. So I know the trolley tracker's been offline for maybe a week or two. Is that a work in progress that'll be back soon, or what's the
Ask Alexis for help there.
Sorry, I didn't. Okay, perfect. The area that I'm most familiar with is South Laguna, especially kind of Aliso Beach and Treasure Island Beach. And my question, or my statement relates to something I haven't seen before, which is getting better trash receptacles. So one of the things I noticed, like if you go to a national park or Mammoth or what have you, they have secure trash receptacles. And so particularly on Aliso Beach, when the things get full, the gulls have a field day. And so what's in the trash can doesn't stay there. And by morning, it's all scattered on, the sand there. And that contributes a lot to the trash that's picked up by the residents in the morning. I imagine there's probably rats and raccoons that go there after hours as well. So has there been any discussion about getting better trash receptacles that open and actually close versus a plastic thing that has a lid that people take off at the end of the day and then the gulls get in there?
There has been, and we continue to work on that. There's a battle between just having enough and then having enough of the right ones. But our overflow periods, we have to put in the plastic ones just because. But yeah, it's an evolving science. We continue to look at it.
Okay. And then with special events, are the sponsors responsible for picking up their own trash? Because I've seen the same thing like with skimboard contests and whatnot, just trash overload, and it's all over the beach by morning. So.
Yeah, I'm not sure what special events we even permit in the summer, but your question more on the shoulder seasons too?
More like when you have a special event,
Okay,
like the Vic.
yeah.
There's a
sorry,
tremendous amount
talking
of
over.
trash.
Just speaking to specifically the Victoria Skimboard Contest, I know that as part of their permit, they are required to have additional temporary trash cans so they can throw away whatever they need to. That's not to say that they could need more for this upcoming year, but as just part of their permit for running it during the summertime, they have that.
So is there like follow-up where people are actually enforcing that? And I don't mean to pick on them. It's just that I'm most familiar with Aliso Beach. It's what I see the most of. So But it sounds like that was also an issue with a recent event. So, as somebody that picks up trash, you see the same Laguna residents out there in the midst of tourists and we're out there picking up their trash. The last thing I will say is I live on Maryland Drive, so there's a lot of, there's free parking up there and there's no public trash cans up there. So there really isn't, unless somebody's willing to take their trash with them, they'll just leave it on the curb there. So I understand, like with Coastal Commission, that we can't restrict, parking in neighborhoods. But if we could provide more support to the residents in those neighborhoods through having, summer trash cans and pickup services, something along those lines.
Thank you. We can
Thank
take a
you.
look at that.
Hi, my name is Sandy Brenner. And I've lived here in Laguna Beach for over 30 years. And I moved here because I wanted to live somewhere where I always felt like I was on vacation. And one of the things I love about this city is people do want to come here and feel like they're on vacation, even if it's for a day. What I do know, having had been a teacher, is when you want to increase a certain behavior, you need to acknowledge when they're doing that behavior. But if we're always recognizing when they're doing the wrong behavior, we're not recognizing what we want them to do. And I think our best ambassadors are children and teens, not just within our own city, but recognizing children who come with their families as they're picking up the trash and putting it in the trash can, and having our park rangers or somebody having a good earth keeper or marine, not safety person, but someone who cares about the environment. Kids love stickers. And I don't know if you notice, sometimes you see children riding their bikes and they have their helmets on, but their parents don't. They will do the right things if we give them the attention for what we want them to do. So it's a balance between violators who get a fine or whatever you're talking about, but we want to increase a certain type of behavior. So I invite you to think about that and see how that might work in your plan. Thank you.
Aaron Pluso, lifetime resident. I just have a couple relatively light things to talk about tonight. I did want to say real quick to my neighbor actually over here who lives on Maryland. One thing that I've started doing is just on the weekends leaving my trash can at the edge of my driveway, and that helps give people a place to put their trash. I do want to speak up for the Vic a little bit. I'm a lifetime skimboarder. I own a skimboard company that is in competition with Victoria. And I will say I've been down there. I think I've been at every contest since 1985 or so. And my experience is that after the skimboard contest, it's the cleanest the beach is on a weekend. The owner of Victoria Skimboards would not have it any other way, in my experience. I just wanted to ask a little bit about, or talk a little bit about the parking enforcement down there. When I was growing up here in Laguna Beach, we used to have meter maids everywhere. They're driving around in their three-wheeled vehicles. And I felt like, if you park for 20 minutes, you might get a ticket. I have a friend who's been coming down. He moved outside of town. He comes down for the weekend to go skimboarding 4 or 5 times a year. He'll park at Aliso from about 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And he hasn't bought a parking pass since before COVID, and he hasn't got a ticket. So I think that there's a lot of improvement that could be done there. Technology may be part of that. It seems like maybe there's some staffing issues. I don't know if we could hire contractors for the surge season. That was my idea. I also wanted to ask, what's going on with the easy up law? And we have easy ups all over town. I don't think anybody's getting tickets. Sometimes the lifeguards, I know, marine safety is going around having people lower the easy ups, which doesn't really make a big difference in the overall look and the intent of the law. So I don't know if there's a way that we get better enforcement there. The other thing, the police chief here mentioned a lot of different citations that they're writing, but I didn't hear anything about littering tickets. And I think littering is probably, not just the overflowing trash cans, which are a problem with the gulls and so forth, but people who are just letting stuff, I mean, I've seen people just with their beer cans flown into the ocean and there's nobody doing anything about it. And then my only other comment was, in regard to the negative visitor messaging or the warnings, as it were. I don't know if the intent there is to have that on Visit Laguna, which has 120,000 followers, or if it's just to have it on the city social media, which has about a fifth of that. And so I think we need to make sure that we don't enter a situation where we're giving negative warnings to the locals and we're giving inducement for day visitors to come on the public facing side. And that's it. Thank you.
Let me go. Hi, my name is Karen Schwager. I've been here since 1984. I feel like I'm living a dream. I have a suggestion about informing visitors about our culture. We have a plethora of films on our history, on the artists, on the environment. And why can't we just have, I don't know how you would do it, but like hotels could have a running set of these films that they could have on their TVs that people can just plug in. You know, if they're want to go to sleep and have something beautiful to watch, they have that. Or in windows, you just put it in store windows where people, and that'll catch people's eye, and then they'll see a pretty dress and, you know, whatever. So anyway, my suggestion is that also contact some of those who know about all the previous artists that aren't recognized as much anymore, but and they are not the old timers, the 1800s, 1900s. They're fairly current, like Andy Wing, Jerry Rothman, Mark Chamberlain. I'll go on, but you know, there are a list of all these artists that have done wonderful things, especially Mark Chamberlain and Jerry Birchfield. I mean, they were part of the march, for God's sakes. They had this huge installation in the canyon. They did so many things. And this can all be celebrated so simply and so beautifully. That's one. Two, my husband has been using the local transportation for a long time, almost every day at some points. And then one day we tried to use the transportation. We went up to the point, waited, called, checked, and nobody came. And then we were informed that although we had made a reservation, they weren't taking reservations anymore, that we just had to stand there and wait till somebody was free to come and pick us up. Well, that doesn't work. You know, that's like bad cab service. You know?
We are taking reservations. Alexis, they're no longer advanced. So what do? You do as needed?
Well,
so yeah,
as needed.
As needed, right.
We called, we asked for a specific time, and we weren't told that they wouldn't come at a specific time.
So I think the key is when you need it, you should hit your phone and book it. So
right, but it didn't work. It didn't work.
I see.
I didn't understand.
Okay, we can do some informational about that.
Yeah.
And including the why, and I think I know what the why of it. We probably, they can get overwhelmed at certain times and then end up having to cancel people's bookings, which is arguably just as bad. I'll work with you on that, Karen, to explain it.
Okay.
It was when I know it better. Okay,
I'll
thank
see you
you.
at the pool.
Thank you.
George Dubin with you. Been in town almost 5 decades. I don't know why people have to say that. It's kind of a funny thing. Anyways, education and incentives, I think, is a big part of the program. I know I've talked to John a little bit about how to create incentives. And I think, you know, when we're trying to educate not only our residents, but people coming to visit town, that how do you incentivize them to become more responsible stewards of our environment? And one of the things I was thinking about, and I know it's maybe kind of an abstract thought, but you know, if we scheduled monthly beach cleanups targeted at whether it's Main Beach or some of the other beaches in town, that we could reach out to restaurants and even some of the hotels and say, you know, we're going to have these scheduled beach cleanups once a month. Would you provide a, you know, a 10% discount to visitors and residents who would come and participate? They'd have to get some kind of a little voucher or something that said they participated. But I think creative incentives is always something that gets people's attention, you know, and I think it's part of the educational process. But I think if we, you know, if we're really trying to get people to understand the special nature of our environment, that getting them involved, again, visitors alike, in helping keep our environment clean is through an incentive, some kind of an incentive program. There could be a variety of things there, obviously. The other thing too is, you know, we've heard a lot about, you know, how trash cans get overburdened, you know, spilling trash outside their containment. And I think I brought this up once before too, and that is, you know, we provide dog poop cleanup bags in various places around town. I think next to our trash cans, perhaps providing free trash bags with signage saying something like, you know, don't leave your trash in our front yard. Because, you know, it's like, you know, they wouldn't want people coming to their house and dumping stuff on their front lawn. So maybe a free bag things at various points in town might be useful too. And then one other public safety thing, Chief, living in the canyon, I see, I know this is not really related to what we're doing tonight, but I wanted to bring it up. I see an awful lot of, especially people on motorcycles, but also cars using our, you know, the center turn lane as another lane. And being you know, somebody who lives out there, I've almost been hit a number of times waiting to, you know, merge into traffic to come into town by wayward motorists and motorcyclists just, you know, hauling ass out the canyon in the center lane like they have some sort of privileged right to do that. And I don't know how to stop that. I know I'm not real big on surveillance things, you know, but maybe, you know, a camera or two out in the canyon so that you can see this happening, where you can actually cite people, you know, online for doing that, because it's extremely dangerous. Anyways, thanks for your time.
Good evening, Pat Minna. One size does not fit all. So we're down by 1,000 steps. First of all, it's a nice program. It's a nice message. For those of us who are local, we live that already. How do we convey that to the visitors? Great. The hotel visitor is very different from the day visitor. We are inundated with the day visitor at 10th Street, 1,000 Steps. I have noticed the trash pickup people that have been hired, and I don't know the name of it, but I've seen even the one woman picking up trash with the pickers. My chief complaint is that it's just not enough. Already it has started. I understand it's spring break, but the last few weeks, my trip to my house, because I live in South Laguna, I go south for everything. I don't come north because it's a nightmare, a traffic nightmare. And I leave my house every day because I still work. But between Crown Valley Parkway to 10th Avenue, the cars, when they're gone away from the curbs, it's just a nightmare of trash. And do we need to be out there every day, every night, or 6 a.m. every morning to pick it up? It bums me out when I see that. It really does. So that impacts me. And any amount of money that we give to Visit Laguna, in my opinion, is a total waste. I don't get anything out of it. I don't see anything. The next item is just the sheer numbers of people that are going to that beach and the parking in the neighborhood. And yes, it is wonderful that we have the parking agreement with the hospital. However, that's only a weekend. It's after hours, or it's after 5 p.m., Saturday, Sunday, and holidays. So for those of us that are in and out of our homes every day and driving our streets and parking in our neighborhood, or have visitors, or have a piano teacher show up, have, wait a minute, the housekeeper show up and there's no parking, the refrigerator service guy. So it's wonderful we have that parking, but it really doesn't make any real difference when we need it, because life has become a 7-day-a-week come to Laguna, enjoy it. I mean, I live here. Believe me, I want to enjoy it. So that's something that specifically hits me. And the trash in the neighborhoods. I see people all day long as I'm going in and out, and I talk to all these people who are going to go use our ocean. Be safe, guys. Have fun. And for the most part, 90% of them are great. I would like to see, and I don't want to really say a docent, but I would like to see someone at the top of 1,000 steps literally addressing everyone that's going down those steps. You put your stuff down, you've got to pack it out. Last year, I think we had 27 trash cans at the bottom of the stairs. Oh my God, it was obscene. It's awful. So can we stop maybe the volumes going down? Can we truly have someone be assertive in that delivery of the message? There also needs to be signage that says there are bathrooms at the hospital. We need to tell people that, because they're going in my bushes and a few other places. So I know we're trying, we just don't have the message thorough at where I live, where it's the day tripper, not the hotel guest. I don't need a bulletin flashing on a hotel room. I'm not even going to be, they're not going to be sitting in the hotel watching these messages. So yeah, how do we get out? And the in and out boxes and everything else that's on the street. I need more boots on the ground picking up trash, which I already do.
Yeah, I just want to make one clarification. The city gives zero money to Visit Laguna. Zero. Visit Laguna gives the city money.
It's
So
generated from the
it's
hotel.
generated from the hotel and the
additional
visitors.
bed
We don't give
tax.
any money to Visit
Yeah.
Laguna. People get confused about that. We don't give any money to Visit Laguna.
Excuse me, just before you start. I saw Ed Almanza out there somewhere. Can I ask if he could come up to the podium after this gentleman? Thank you, Ed.
Okay. How you doing, everyone? My name is Ty Lifeset. I've been a resident here for almost 11 years. Wife owns a retail clothing boutique across from the Surf and Sand called Summer Snow, if anyone's interested. So I have a lot of concerns about the empty storefronts around Laguna. And I know that we don't really think about how that's playing a part in this, but I kind of think about New York City in the early 90s when there was graffiti and broken windows, and it really was like the Wild West, and people acted that way. And I get a little bit of that from the storefronts, empty storefronts. And so I'm just thinking about how we can maybe utilize those as an opportunity for us. Can we take those empty storefronts and create pop-ups there where it's educational? Can we use signage that fills those windows that's educational on, littering in the beaches and what else visitors can do as they come here. Can we use those spaces to promote some of the retail stores that we actually have here that are active and are deeply trying to thrive? I see my wife fighting for it every day. And so, obviously I want to fix that in general. We want more restaurants and retail establishments here that make our city even more beautiful and more fruitful. You can't force the hand specifically of a landowner, but maybe we can put things into place where it's not just empty walls and windows that we're looking at all the time. Thank you.
Thank you. So thank you, Ed, for coming out. First, I want to just say Ed has been, with the Laguna Ocean Foundation, so valuable as we've been working our way through this process. And we've actually come a long way over the months, just trying to figure out how it is that we're going to approach this and analyzing what other cities are doing across the globe. And Ed's brought so much information to the table, and he also has experience, in the world of general plans, and that's, I believe, what you do for a living. Is that correct?
I mostly do CEQA.
CEQA,
work.
right. So, and embedded in our general plan, there is language that addresses the impacts of tourism. And I know that we can find and make improvements to that general plan that I think, and I'm hoping, that will expand our ability to communicate and with the Coastal Commission and allow us some additional options in the future. And I was hoping that you can just kind of speak freely for a moment and share with the community some of the things that you and I have talked about, maybe starting with just the management portion.
Yeah.
We had talked about capacity, right? And you have talked about how we could in the future, and the one resident spoke about the 10th Street Beach and various 1,000 Steps. And, some of these private coves and beaches and tide pool areas are overburdened. And will there be an opportunity in the future to actually manage the capacity?
In some respects, I think so, yeah. So we do have some policies in our general plan, which is also the local coastal program, which means these policies have been blessed by the Coastal Commission. And there are policies that speak specifically to visitor management, and we're starting to take some steps in collaboration with the city on implementing those policies, some very, very early steps. And so we've had these students from Cal Poly Pomona working on some of that. The first action is to develop a database of environmental resources on the coast so that we understand where the sensitive resources are, what are we trying to protect. The thing to keep in mind is that the Coastal Commission is focused on two things, principally. One is maximizing public access, but also protecting coastal resources. And if you read the Coastal Act carefully, you realize that the priority is protection of coastal resources. It's written that way. It's not often implemented that way, but that's the way it's supposed to be implemented. So we're looking at that as a way to have a dialogue with the Coastal Commission, the city, and the community that speaks to protection of coastal resources and the potential effects of visitors, not just visitors, but the public, so us as well, and to talk about what are those impacts and ask the question legitimately, can those impacts be managed? Which then takes us to conversations with Coastal Commission's legal counsel, which we're starting to have, and asking how can that actually happen within the framework of the Coastal Act. So these are very, very initial steps, but they are promising. I don't know how that translates immediately into how we manage parking or the number of people. We can talk about carrying capacity as it affects coastal resources like the tide pools. We know from managing for 20 years, the tide pools at Treasure Island, that there is a limit to what we can do. That we've seen occasions where there's so many people at the rocks there that it doesn't matter how many educators or docents we have, we cannot manage that many people, which implies that there's a need to kick in a different level, a different type of management. And so we're starting to talk about little steps like having signs. And the first sign isn't going to say, you can't come here. It's going to say, this is a sensitive area that's being restored. It's an informational sign. But those kinds of things where we manage people on site, we need more boots on the ground. We need more capacity, of course, to do that. But I think our people working in tandem with marine safety, we don't enforce, but we educate, which is kind of the first step so that we don't have to enforce. So we're working on several different levels. I think the policy level is important as well as the boots on the ground level. And I think that the crisis mode that we're in, so to speak, because of the last 2 summers, is actually going to help us. I think that there is a homegrown sense of behavior. John uses the word ethos, and I think that I've seen that. I've talked about this before, where I've seen our local lifeguards, the kids who grew up here and became lifeguards, and you see them at the end of the day, they say to the kids around them, the Grams, they say, you guys pick up your trash before you leave. And that's the kind of native behavior that we want to communicate to the visitors, that boundary between visitors and residents has to go away. They have to become part of the community. I think John's right, we have the pillars, but it's really the environment that is the bottom of the pyramid. Culture is the medium for communicating that and developing that new ethos. So those are my thoughts in response to this conversation tonight.
Yeah, that was good, Ed.
Thank you very much.
That's really good. Okay, how many more speakers do we have here? Okay, why don't you get in line, because we want to make sure we get everybody before 7. So if you haven't spoken yet, let's let the speakers haven't spoken yet come up, then if we have time, we'll take it. Okay, thanks.
Hi, I'm Larry Ring. I'm a longtime resident of Laguna Beach, and I just wanted to ask you to return Laguna Beach to the residents. We are not Disneyland. When you provide buses and trams full of day trippers coming down here, when you add parking structures for more and more people, the result is inevitable. You know, we end up with massive overcrowding. We end up with jammed streets, and we end up with trash everywhere. We end up with crime. I applaud the police department for what they're doing, but you know, when I have to pull my kids away because there are MS-13 tattooed people on the beaches here because it's a free trip down and all the transportation is provided for everyone, it just is not it is not the type of experience that I moved here for. You know, I've just seen the crowds grow dramatically over time. So one suggestion I would have is that you start converting some of the parking garages and some of the parking spaces to residents only. And residents could be provided with guest passes for their contractors, for their helpers, for their visitors, that type of thing, so that instead of having our streets crammed full of people with trailers full of their coolers heading down to the beach and leaving all the trash there, the spaces would be available for all of the residents and all of their guests and the rest of it, and restore the community to what it was many, many years ago when it was an unknown and polite and friendly little town, instead of having everyone stressed out by having to deal with hordes of visitors coming here. I would remind you that the beaches and much of the recreational areas in Los Angeles are closed and will be closed for probably another 6 months to a year. And that all those people from inland Los Angeles who used to go to Santa Monica Beach, Malibu beaches, and into the Santa Monica recreational area, they're all coming here now. I talked with the people on the beach because I'm down there almost every day. And they say, oh yeah, I didn't like the smell up in the Santa Monica area. So we're coming down here instead of driving out there. So you can expect thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of more people here over the summer who are not the type of people who would ordinarily come to Laguna Beach, and no matter how much outreach you do, they are not going to be respectful. We need to have full enforcement and make it very unpleasant for people who don't behave politely to be here. So the more you can do to stop promoting Laguna and to start providing the kind of environment for the residents who elect the officials, the better we'll like it. Thank you.
Appreciate it. He said a lot of things I was going to say. I've been here since 1964. I grew up the culture here, living on the beach. Being a kid, I went to the fishing off the rocks. Can't do that anymore. I used to sell programs in the canyon when it was parking on the inside median. I mean, it was single lane in and there was parking everywhere. Well, I just think that the parking situation and the overcrowding coming into our town year after year, it's been 10 years of Visit Laguna, and I don't see a single benefit of the 10 years. I just see you just gave it another contract for another 10 years. I don't know if that's going to be appealed, but the decision to close Forest is being appealed. I just read the appeal. It was filed by people that live here that you no longer represent, because it was Planning Commission was 5-0 for the project. The next week, it was City Council, and darn if they weren't ready to vote on it, but only one council member said, let's wait until the ordinance is full. But I'm telling you, in this next month, we're gathering a lot of people that are really representing the views of the city of Laguna Beach residents. There may be a lot of special interest people, hoteliers, and when we came here, we bought a motel. That was our first reason we came here in 1964. We started a 10-year motel in North Laguna. It's still there, but it's turned into offices. So I know about why we came here. We came here for tourism. We came here to live off of that tourism. But in the 60 years I've been here, this town has gone down, down, down. Parking has gone down, down, down. The crowds are going up, and you're giving contracts to bring, last year was the year before it was 6.2 million visitors a year. Now it's 7.4 million. Where do you think the 100,000 he was just talking about, the thousands and hundreds of thousands more visitors now from the fire are going to be at what, 8 million this year? When does it all stop? When do you represent us? Mark, we sat down when you first tried to get elected, and you said you're going to represent South Laguna. I haven't seen a single benefit that's come from you representing South Laguna. We don't have any parking. We're inundated. We have trash. We have 18 trash cans at the bottom of 1,000 steps, all the way out the rope till it comes to the public access part where the private stops them. 18 on this side, 18 on that side. And you're paying somebody to go get that trash 2 times a weekend to unload the trash. I like the idea that my wife had about putting a guy at the top saying, you pack it in, you're packing it out. No more coolers going down the stairs. You know what it's like to try and go down when somebody is going down clunk, 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 clunk with a full cooler, how it just jams it up. It turns it into just a circus going down there. Then they took out the one bath, the second bathroom for handicap. Now at the bottom of 216,000 stairs going down, I don't see a need for taking out and making it handicap. That's what they told me it had to be. We had to live by the handicap rules. So if that's the case, then you really need to redesign that bathroom and get back 2 spaces, because you put 5,000 people down there on the beach, you're not going to get those 2 bathrooms, not with a 20-person line for the whole summer. So you've got problems in South Laguna. You haven't addressed them.
I am sure we are trying to keep to the 3 minutes roughly. So we're at 3.5.
Well, the last thing about Mark was just talking about, brought a guy up here for CEQA. And the move that was just done by the Planning Commission, by the City Council, was to bypass CEQA. So I think that's pretty hypocritical to bring that up, that you're trying to, the CEQA is going to help us, because you guys are looking at ways to get around CEQA. So that's why the residents have to file an appeal to make it our voices heard. We would like our voices heard. We would like to vote. We would like to let you know what we feel like and that you no longer are representing us. 5-0.
Mr. Mena, the day for that is May 20th.
It's May 20th, but
Yeah.
the day for that passed because you guys passed it without our input.
I appreciate your point, but May 20th is the promenade day.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, John Thomas. I think you've organized this well. I do appreciate what you're trying to do. Is I see what you've done for the organization of today is you set this up as two parts, education and messaging, which is basically hoping to set expectations. And I like to say much of life has to do with setting and managing expectations. So that's good. And the other part is the enforcement. And, you know, I think what Visit Laguna did a while ago last year, taking $500,000 out of advertising and administration and doing less advertising, I of course like, is hard. As much as you try to pinpoint your advertising and get exactly the right people to come here, it's very difficult to do that. You end up with a lot of people that read the same ad and show up anyway, and that's our day tripper kind of problem. So, you know, I like less advertising, and now you have some money to do something with, and you're going to be talking about that in a couple of weeks too with the LBTMD thing. And that's where I want to go to what Ed Almanzo was talking about. I do believe that there's really nothing we can do about people coming. I fully understand why people come to Laguna Beach. If I didn't live here, I'd come here too. It's a great place and it's very attractive. But Ed said a little bit of hope in the fact that, you know, where the environment is being overburdened, that maybe Coastal would actually figure out a way to let us do some limitations, but I don't expect that in my lifetime. What he also talked about though was visitor management. And that's the second part of what you guys have set up tonight, the administration, the management of the visitors that do come. And that's the suggestion I'm going to make that's going to be very unpopular with a couple of people sitting here today. And that's when we get to that LBTMD conversation, instead of taking that 500,000 or maybe it's 750 or 800 or whatever it's going to be, however that thing evolves, and doing some of the things that you're talking about doing, which all sound kind of nice. Instead, I would rather see that go towards more management, even with what the chief has described in terms of the number of park rangers that we have. This is a 7-day-a-week, almost 24-hour day job. So your 8 rangers, you've only really got 4 working at any time because you've got a couple of shifts. So a little bit more people to do some management, I think would be a real good return on investment. So, you know, that's me. I like to look at budget stuff. So I would like to see a little bit of that LBTMD money, instead of going for some of the things that you're going to be talking about in a few days. I'd rather see some of that go for some more park rangers or more police or more people picking up trash or more people, you know, doing parking management, that kind of stuff. Okay. And then just miscellaneous things that I don't think I heard anybody talk about the restrooms. I don't know what we do about them, but we got to do something. Somebody said empty storefronts. You know, could we rent a couple of storefronts and with a bathroom and make them summer public restrooms? I mean, that's.
You mean in South Laguna, John?
Wherever we need them the most. Yeah, South Laguna. I mean, you want to be out of here by 7, I won't get started. But, you know, when South Laguna was an X and those beaches were open, there was an EIR, and it really said, you don't have adequate facilities, and yet we're going to open them anyway. And that's what we've been living with. That's why it's so burdened down there. Anyway.
Thank you.
Enough of that.
Hello, my name is Wayne Baglin, unless George hadn't said it, decades. I'm slightly over 60, or 6 decades. So, thank you. Thank you very much for being here. And one of the first things that I have to ask is on the program that we're aiming at, and that's stewardship. I'd like to have answered number 1, why? So just a clear definition, just think about it, is why. The other thing is that we are a community which is loaded with special interest groups. There are homeowners groups, there are art groups, and so on. I think you need, or your team needs to get out of the office and meet those people and get answers from them and get a feel from them. They'll love to hear from you. Please get out of the office and contact those people. And I know Dave has a list of all of them that you can get a hold of. The other thing that is missing here is maybe that empty chair. Where's the Chamber of Commerce? Those people communicate with our visitors almost more than anyone else.
Well,
Why?
they're here, Wayne. They're
Karen's here.
here. They're here.
Okay. I see them as being a very important part of this. And one of the things I'm interested in after years in HR is that we lose our retail establishment so much right now. There are so many empty shops. We should be doing exit interviews on those shops that close. Why? Was it the rent went up? They didn't have the right experience? Why? We need to find out why so that we can do something about it. And one of the ways to do that is that I think the city might consider having an ombudsman, somebody who can talk to these people when they're leaving to find out why. Also, when certain problems come up with city staff, an ombudsman can work with them and get things resolved. I think it's something that we could consider doing. That comment also earlier about having a docent at the top of the stairs at 1,000 steps is a really good idea. That's something that really should be, we could even do it at Main Beach. And please work forward on this, come up with a clear vision, come up with a statement, not more than 2 sentences long, that we can put on a sign that tells us what we're after, and it should be in front of parking spots. It should be throughout town. We've got to get the message there, and we've got to get the message, first of all, to our residents. They are the ambassadors that make the whole thing work. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. Thanks for being here. We heard some good ideas and we'll
Remember to
continue.
fill out the survey if you haven't.
Yep.
We really appreciate your being here and your comments. Thank you for taking the time out.